got my ring light on, but it doesn't seem to be working
Good
very well.
afternoon, ladies. It's Carol Lourie. And, usually I'm here at 10 in the morning Pacific time. But today I have my dear friend, Georgia Foster, who is an alcohol reduction specialist, and she is in Australia. So we had to switch our time zone around and everything. So here we are in the afternoon. It's 5:30 p.m. Pacific. It's Eastern. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, and it's California time. And for Georgia, it's 7:30 in the morning. So thank you for being here with us, Georgia, and welcome to my community. And I'm really excited to share what you do with everyone because it's a very important topic.
Well, thank you for having me, and I appreciate that you've moved your time for me rather than being in the middle of the night for me.
Oh, no, I'm not asking anybody to do anything in the middle of the night other than sleeping. So
Yeah,
I just sent out my list about your wonderful boot camp. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you got where you are and how you're offering this wonderful program?
Sure. Well, I specialize in alcohol because I used to have an alcohol issue. So when I work with people, it's really about getting their self-esteem right and their anxiety right down. So you don't drink. Do you drink, Carol?
Infrequently. I like good wine, but I don't drink all the time, and I can't really drink more than a glass. And I know how to limit myself, but I don't, drink a lot.
Well, alcohol is something that people really need to reduce, and that's what the boot camp is about. Not quitting, it's about drinking less. So it's not about being sober for the rest of your life, which I think is really important. And I think that people need to understand that we've got an incredible mind that knows how to drink less. We just need the right tools. So I use hypnosis, which is a fantastic resource. I think that most people do want to reduce rather than quit. So I really believe that everybody has an incredible mind, and with the right tools, they can kind of work out, for example, most of the drinking we do is habitual. It's the wine o'clock at 5 o'clock. It's the beer o'clock at 4:30 or 5 or 6:30, whatever it is. And I think that we live in a drinking society. I feel that, so I used to work, well, I am still a hypnotherapist, but I had 2 clinics in London. So kind of, I'm a bit of a hybrid. I'm an Aussie, but I lived in London half my life.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of people would come and see me, and I had a big corporate client list from a lot of the big banks, Citibank and Salomons, and I know they've all probably changed their names a bit by now, but I had a lot of people in very high profile arenas. And I think a lot of people are under this big misconception that people who drink too much live on a park bench, or that they're people in society who, you wouldn't want to kind of associate with. But in actual fact, that I'm talking about a very big demographic, and they say about 68% of US people, Americans, binge drink. So I really love about my approach is it's getting the mind right. So people who drink because they're anxious or they're bored or they're, fear of the future is a very big gig. And my audience generally are around about 40 to 70. And these people, they've earned their stripes in life. They've worked hard, and just at the time when you feel you want to kind of enjoy your life is when liver health starts to show itself. And these are the sorts of reasons why people might want to think about reducing. So the boot camp is really a 6-week, I use the word intensive, but it's actually not really intensive because it's 1.5 hours live each week. You don't have to attend live, and you can be completely anonymous.
Right. Yeah. You can record it and you can watch it. You record it. They can watch it at their convenience.
Correct. Yeah. So the reason why I created the boot camp was I felt that people wanted more attention. They wanted more support. And I think 6 weeks, so there's 1.5 hours a week, starts on Monday, and that is PST is 4:30 and EST is 7:30. And it's really just a beautiful 6 weeks where we come together. As I said, you can be completely anonymous. The system's set up that people don't know who you are. But if you can't make the live content, that's fine. But what's beautiful about it is you can watch it in your own time. But through the weeks, I'm going to be giving out top tips, motivational tools, but more importantly, I'm there on tap. You can email me direct. Everybody has my details, because I really want to help people, because I know that a lot of people are drinking for habit reasons, but also because of their anxiety or their social anxiety, or a lot of people drink alcohol to help them sleep because of that busy brain syndrome. And I'm changing.
Busy brain syndrome. That's a good
yeah.
phrase. Busy brain syndrome. I can barely say it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really that. I call it, I'm training this fantastic psychology. It's a Jungian psychology, and it's so beautiful because it's really about getting in touch with that inner critic that, is the resistance to change, that, you bet you can't drink less, and, everybody else drinks less than you. And I think a lot of people want to drink less because of, booze belly, obviously liver health. But I think people want longevity, and they want to know how to have a bit of everything, in a nice quantity. And I'm not saying if you win the lottery tonight that you might not have a bit too much champagne. I'm talking about the regular habitual drinking that people know is kind of crept up. And I think that a lot of people are used to being at home now and spending time on their own. And I think when we're bored, we can start to negatively think. So these are all like little things that I talk about, and the drivers to drink in unhelpful ways.
A couple things. I think one is that during the pandemic, research has shown that alcoholism and alcohol intake just massively increased. People, as you said, people were at home more, and I'll just have a little here, I'll have a little there. And so a lot of people post-pandemic found themselves with drinking too much. But can you talk a little bit about what is binge drinking? Because I don't think everybody really understands the parameters of that.
Well, binge drinking is, people who are a bit of an all or nothing. They abstain all week, and then they use all of their calories of alcohol, I call them, at the end on the weekend. So they could be really good at alcohol-free days, but then that, the bell doesn't ring. So, I mean, what is interesting and this is based on actual fact, is, you've got your units measurement, your glass measurement. In the US, do you call it glass measurement, I think?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with these terms. Okay. I mean, like how you measure the little hard alcohol that you pour into a drink?
Well, it's really a measurement that the government and the medical board decided to get together and say, look, it happened in Australia. It was a global thing. It happened in the UK, and it happened in the US. And so what they decided to do is they wanted to give people like calories and fat grams and sugar grams. They decided that if they educated the American people, that really should be, for women, it's 14 glasses of wine a week, and for men, it's 21.
That's a lot. That 14 glasses of wine in a week?
Well, a lot of people that I'm talking about would drink a bottle of wine a day. And that's
a problem. Anyone who's drinking that much needs to get help, because it's very unhealthy for as you said, for your liver, but also for your blood sugar. And alcohol is very quickly processed into glucose and sugar. So then you're feeding, inflammation and cancer cells. If that's the case, that's alarming.
But to be honest, Carol, a lot of people, that's their regular drinking. I mean, it's very easy for someone to put a bottle of wine away a night. And that's what I'm saying, is they don't want to do that. But because I know a lot of people who would say, Georgia, I feel really good if I just have a bottle, and I think that these are people who are, I would say are not alcoholics, who got themselves into a really emotionally habitual space. And part of the problem is actually, so for example, a lot of people, and they'll say, yeah, Georgia, I really resonate with that. They're chopping vegetables, they're watching TV, they're at their computer, and it's all automated drinking. So they don't even know they're drinking it. So I'm saying, well, I train them to have water, so we call it DOWO, drink one, water one, so that at least because I think a lot of people don't realize when we drink alcohol, we could be thirsty, but because the brain registers the alcohol as hydration, it gets confused. And these are all of the lovely things I show people, about is, wherever you are with your drinking, the goal is to reduce it. I'm not going to say you have to have one glass of wine every other night, because that restriction mentality is like a diet mentality for a lot of people. So you got to work with the psychology of it. So, I mean, you're really lucky that you are not a heavy drinker. But I know a lot of homemakers and a lot of lawyers. I mean, half my clinic was full of lawyers in London. So,
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's just, we've got a lot of pressure on ourselves, and it's a quick fix, to turn off the anxiety, to really just be calm. And so if you're using alcohol to get that feeling, because it's a chemical reaction, the drinking shuts down the negative thinking. And so I'm about training people to tune out of that negative thinking before they drink. So they don't need to drink to feel better or to feel calmer or to stop that busy brain syndrome.
Right. But, you said something interesting, that alcohol is a quick fix for reducing your anxiety, turning off the busy brain syndrome, reducing that negative talk, and helping people sleep. But I also think that it comes back to bite people in the rear end, so to speak, because the quick fix actually it doesn't really help people sleep, because then it impacts their liver, and then that wakes them up in the middle of the night, and they get bloating and they get digestive problems. And so you get into this vicious cycle. And I think it's very important what you're offering is becoming aware of people's habits. Like you said, women are, and unfortunately it's mostly women, we're here to talk with women because that's my community, but you're chopping vegetables and having a sip of wine, and before you know it, you've gone through a glass and a half while you're making dinner, and then you sit down and have dinner, and then you eat another glass and a half. I can't drink that much. It makes me feel unwell, and I don't ever do that. So when I'm hanging out with people who can, I have my glass, and then I have, Pellegrino with lime in it. I mean, I know what my limits are, and I absolutely cannot do hard liquor. It just makes me feel really sick. So, but you get into this habit. So now, how do you feel like this compares with the approach of, the AAA, the Alcoholics Anonymous syndrome, which is total abstinence, never with a 10-foot pole? How do you feel about that as opposed to what you're saying? It's learn your habits and learn how to reduce yourself.
Look, it's a good question. I think my audience don't want to quit, and I don't think they need to quit. And I say, if you can reduce, that's great. I think the problem with the AA mentality is a lot of people aren't necessarily that religious aligned, or they feel. And I also think that, and please, I'm not here to judge anybody who's gone that route, but then you do get labeled. And I'm very much about be careful what your mind hears. So if you go to AA, then you are an alcoholic.
Right.
You may be in that camp, but I actually think there's a massive demographic. And I've been in this business for 26 years. So I know that demographic extremely well. And I know that those people don't belong in AA. But, it's really interesting. Many years ago, I had a book published with HarperCollins. It was not to do with drinking. And I went to my literary agent and I said to her, the book I really want to write is about alcohol reduction. She's like, oh, that sounds fantastic, Georgia. And she's like, let's get a book deal. And I'm like, okay, brilliant. And everybody was like, whoa, that's not going to work. You've got to quit. Da, da, da. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in the coalface. I see these people. These people are teachers, lawyers, doctors, accountants. And anyway, so long story short, I ended up having to self-publish, which cost me a lot of money. And it was very uncool in those days to self-publish.
Yeah.
And I fortunately had a couple of journalists on my books who'd been coming to see me, and I sent them my first book on alcohol reduction. And within 3 months, I was in the first Psychologies magazine.
Oh, I love that.
I was in the Times newspaper, and the books I wasn't allowed to be on the bookshelf because it was too, I could only sell on Amazon. And within 3 months, I had to go into reprint. And I knew I was onto something then, because people don't want to abstain. And I think this is the point. We live in a society where we're being told so much and what we should be and shouldn't be doing. And yet, it's all just getting too much. Let me just go into my little space, and I'll just, I call it, if people live on their own, I call it solo drinking, and I think the solo drinking can be, end up being a solo party. And I'm not saying don't drink if you live on your own. I lived on my own for 9 years, so I get it. But I think we just need to be a little bit more kind to drinkers. I think we make them shamed and feel that there's a lot of guilt with it. But I'm like, I want to stop all that taboo, and I want people to know that there is a place, And the boot camp is a beautiful, as I said, you don't have to attend all of them. All the recordings are in your membership area. If you want to do it in your own time, it's not convenient, then all of the content is there over 6 weeks. And it's a beautiful package. It's like everything that I feel is important for people to know about drinking less is in that 6 weeks.
What's the URL for this, Georgia? I can put it on in our interview.
Oh, I sent you the link, didn't I? I sent you the link.
But I don't have it up here. So if I can't put it up here now, I will go back and add it into the link later.
Great.
Okay.
I don't have it handy. It's a one-off. I'm not doing another one until next year. So if you've got any questions, you can email Carol, or
you can do it now. And if you don't feel like you can do it now, you can do it next month. I mean, let's get it. If this resonates with you and it's a concern of yours, let's do it now. And then you can, if August isn't convenient for you, you can log in September or October. I mean, because as Georgia said, she's not doing another one until 2023. And the holidays are coming up before you know it. And if you're having a drinking problem where you're drinking a bottle a day, ladies, that's too much for your little body. It's just too much alcohol for you. And it's metabolically unhealthy. And there's no judgment here. I'm here to just support everyone's best physical and emotional health. I don't have the link during our talk.
You want to get it up for you now? That's fine. I can get it up for you now.
Put it in the chat and I will copy and paste. Yeah.
And I think while we're talking about in terms of the drinking, what I think is really important is that people know that, this is, as I said, this is not about you, abstaining or anybody knowing. I just had the link here. Here we go. I've got, I want you to know that it's not just about drinking less, it's about coping strategies. It's about
the private chat, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Coping strategies, very important topic.
It's about, because a lot of people are using alcohol as they go-to for just getting away from the anxieties of life. And I think that a lot of people need to be respectful that we've been through a lot, and I just think that, it's really about improving self-esteem. Like, if you've got social anxiety, for example, those who have a quick drink before they go out, or, feel that, they would rather go for the glass of wine at nighttime than the cup of coffee at the cafe in the morning, kind of thing. All of these are beautiful tools that help people just to realize they don't need to drink to be comfortable. They don't need to drink to feel safe. You have those resources sober. And the beautiful domino effect is when you don't drink to run away from the fear and the anxiety, is you just naturally drink less. I mean, that's the beauty of it, because you're not driven to drink. You just think, oh yeah, I could have a couple of glasses of wine, that's fine. I'm going to a beautiful restaurant tonight, or it's a lovely night at home and my husband and I want to have some wine. It's really just that graceful drinking that we're talking about, rather than the oh my God, I can't cope with it unless I have a couple of glasses of wine or beer or gin and tonic or whatever your favorite tipple is. And I think a top tip is that, when you do want to drink less, keep to what you know, because your body and your brain are used to that alcohol content. And I mean, I think spirit drinkers, if you're not a spirit drinker, it's really about working with what you consume, so that you can start to see that beautiful reduction. And it'll be really subtle in the beginning, that you'll look back on reflection and think, wow, there's less recycling bottles in the bin. Yeah. And little things like that you'll see, and that they're beautiful. They're beautiful moments where people feel really excited about it. And what is interesting is when you discover that a lot of people aren't even tasting the alcohol. Like, a lot of people saying, oh, Georgia, I didn't realize I was drinking really terrible, cheap, nasty wine, which we know is full of a lot of more chemicals than a lot of the more high quality brands. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know in the US, you don't have to put all the chemicals on the side of the wine. Is that correct?
I think so. I try to drink dry farm wines, which I support in my community, and I try to drink eco wines. And I don't like drinking inexpensive bottles of wine. I don't, if I'm going to drink, it's going to be a nice organic wine. Maybe the bottle starts at $30 and goes up. I'm very, like you said, I'm like a particular person about if I'm going to drink, it's going to be a nice glass. It has to count. So,
Yes.
yeah. And I
Right.
think that in life, everything that you want to use the highest quality of whatever supplements, organic food, people that you trust for your health. So wine goes in that, category. You don't want to drink junky wine that comes in a box because it's filled with chemicals, which are not
Mm,
good for you.
mm. And I think that's what is really interesting about alcohol is there are so many chemicals in there that are not labeled. And so a lot of people saying, and that's another thing, is that a lot of people are getting hangovers not from the alcohol, but the body's trying to get rid of the chemicals in the alcohol as well. So it's not just, I always say that there was this really interesting movie that was created by I can't remember his name, a journalist, and he was a vegan, didn't drink, he was a sugar-free guy. And just for an example of how other people live, he went and ate an American diet, sugary cereals. I think it was called What the Fat. Anyway, and he was basically over 6 weeks, he consumed like McDonald's, takeaway
Oh, I saw
food.
this movie. Oh, it was about McDonald's, and he would go up, and if they said to him, "Do you want a triple Whopper?" he had to say yes, and he went from being very healthy to being obese and having cardiovascular disease, and right.
Well, that journalist, after that they did all those tests, and his liver count went through the roof, and he was diagnosed with a fatty liver. So what I want to say to drinkers is just be mindful, as you said, Carol, that your fatty liver might be coming from your food. It will be coming from alcohol as well. And if anybody's interested, I mean, obviously we are very much. In fact, we didn't put the link in for the supplement, the liver supplement, did we?
No, we didn't. But
Yeah.
I'll send out an email as a follow up.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
let's back up a little bit. A lot of people don't know they have fatty livers.
Correct.
In America, as a doctor, I mean, I have people come to me, and I don't ever see like a fatty liver, a liver ultrasound, which would diagnose a fatty liver. I mean, we have liver enzymes sometimes, but not always. So a lot of people, especially if they drink a lot of alcohol or have eaten the standard American diet and are overweight, they have a fatty liver. And let's even talk about what is a fatty liver, because it's not well known in American society. Most people don't go, "Oh yeah, you have a fatty liver." I don't think anybody's ever said to me as part of my intake, "Oh yes, I've been diagnosed with a fatty liver."
Yeah, I mean, fatty liver, I mean, the sad thing is that the liver doesn't bark until it's really sick. And so there are very important things that people should be doing. And I agree with you, organic food as much as possible, because the pesticides alone will cause fatty liver. Obviously a diet that's really low in sugar. But I think what we need to do is, a saying is, if you can pick it or spear it, you can eat it, as much fresh produce as possible. Because when you live that rule, generally, your liver will be so thankful, because the liver doesn't process synthetic foods, McDonald's, KFC, it doesn't know how to process food that doesn't come natural to what it's used to processing. And so we can get a lot of fatty liver very, very quickly by having a poor diet and drinking too much. But a fatty liver from alcohol is different from fatty liver from food.
It is.
So that's why we developed our supplement for drinkers. And I think this is what's really important. And speaking of that, is obviously we have a probiotic in our supplement. Carol will send the link out to you all. But I think what's really important to note is that a combination of both is really good, because your liver, if you keep it healthy, it will thank you big time. And little things like having just, a bit of fresh lemon juice in warm water in the morning is a beautiful liver cleanse. I mean, it's just fantastic. That if you could start your day, even if you did that 3 days a week, your liver would thank you. Yeah. And then don't eat for like an hour after, so you can really get the lemons to work on the system. And these are like dandelion coffee is another, like it's the root. If you go to your health food store, it's not the tea, it's not the leaf, it's the actual root. If you could have that 3 or 4 times a week, it tastes not that nice to taste. I mean, I quite like it because I drink it a lot. But it's one of the best things you can do for your liver is dandelion coffee. You can put a bit of milk in it if you want to, but I just drink it black. And it's a bit of a diuretic. It really helps your kidneys as well. But these are the sorts of things you can start to take responsibility for your liver and really look at. If you are a drinker and you're worried about it, then there are lovely little things that you can do.
And I think from a naturopathic point of view, the liver is one of the organs that regenerates itself really, really well. When you take it from inflammation and unhealthy habits and you move it over towards like what you're talking about, something as simple as hot water and lemon in the morning, dandelion tea, or even dandelion coffee. Now, when you're first doing herbs and your body is out of balance, the herbs are very bitter. And that bitterness is actually what's going to benefit the liver. The liver, as an organ in Chinese medicine, responds to the flavor of bitter, and it helps cleanse it. There's a product, a food called bitter melon, which is very common in the Chinese culture, and they eat it as a food. I've had it, and it's a little too bitter even for me, but it's a taste you had to develop, but it's extremely healthy. And it's no accident when you look at what nature gives us that in the spring we have dandelions. And dandelion is a weed. People, they want to put poisons on them. Well, of course you don't want to do anything like that. But the leaves of the dandelion are very, very beneficial for your liver and your kidneys.
Yeah, no, I mean, the dandelion is just a gift in itself. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful flower as well.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful flower. So these are the things, I think people need to stop worrying as much and start to realize that they can take responsibility in a positive way. You don't have to abstain. But I think all of these lovely things just make a beautiful combination of just being a little bit more confident in taking back your worries and saying, well, actually, I can do something. And the boot camp is a good way to do that.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Georgia, for being here. And to all of you who are watching live, the link is here. I'm going to put the link one more time. And if you're watching this as a recording, we start August 1st. But even if you can't start on August 1st, join now. Because the beauty of this is that you have access to it. And you get to be anonymous if you want. You can join as an active participant. George is available for reach out comments or if you're having more problems, and she won't be offering this again until next year. So I encourage everyone to really take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. I think George's approach is really beneficial, and it doesn't have to be black and white, but it encourages you to become conscious of what you're doing. Because if you're sitting there chopping vegetables and drinking a glass and a half of wine, and then you sit down and have a glass and a half for dinner, and you're doing that, 5 days a week, that's already like 4 or 5 bottles. And that's too much for your body. That's just unhealthy. There's no spiritual judgment. It's just physically unhealthy for you. And I'm all about helping you recover your health to restore your life. So thank you so much, Georgia. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, ladies, it's great to hang out with you. And I'm going to be doing several more guest expert interviews this week. Thank you for commenting, Michelle. Why don't you reach out and see if there is a payment plan available that is sometimes, because I know that in my Empowered Against Recurrence program, we have a 2-option payment plan. And if somebody needs more than that, I'm happy to offer that also. So reach out to Georgia.
With this payment plan, when you go into to order, you'll see a payment plan there, 4 payments.
Oh, 4 payments, Michelle. That makes it affordable, honey. Okay, thank you so much, Georgia. Really great to hang out with you. And ladies,
big hug to everybody. Any questions, I'm here.
Yeah, there'll be more later. Okay, thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.